Hey people, I hope you're well. Facebook world, just wait for a few more people to jump on as always. While we're here, I'd just like to say, continue to say this. If you're not on my mailing list and you don't want to miss any of my content, videos, podcasts, etc., then please do jump over to www.reviveyourself.co, where you can put your name and email in so you don't miss any of the content should I get removed from any of Facebook's platforms here. Instagram, already heavily shadow banned on Instagram, etc., so please do that. And yeah, just want to talk today about stress, why it's so important that you get it under control. Because I often get asked the question, Ryan, I've been eating really well, been exercising intelligently, not having any chemicals, not putting anything bad on my skin, turning off my Wi-Fi, and I'm still having issues. I'm still having lots of pain, inflammation, etc., and I can't seem to get rid of it no matter what I do. And when we dig deeper, what's going on, there's an underlying element of stress that comes on. So this is really, really important. This is why I always talk about, when all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. It's why nutritionists think everything's a nutritional deficiency. Chiropractors think everything's a structural imbalance. For example, energy healers think everything's an energy problem. Whereas sometimes there's lots of different layers, and there's also lots of different layers. And because we're a holistic entity, everything affects us. And the body summates stress. So it doesn't matter if it's coming from poor food, poor quality water, poor sleep, or it could be your job, it could be your finances, it could be your love life, okay? If you're living in a constant state of stress, and your mind's going constantly moving, your body's never going to be able to heal or reach its full potential, because it's almost like you're constantly tightening a rope, and eventually it will burst, okay? Or another analogy I like to use, it's like constantly blowing up a balloon. Eventually one day it will burst, and that's a big problem. So a few things happen when your body's constantly in a state of stress. First of all, your body won't be able to digest food because your body won't be in its parasympathetic nervous system. Hey Tracy, this is for you. Really, listen to this. Your body won't be able to digest food. When your body's in this constant state of stress, doesn't produce bile, chyme, won't be able to relax. It's in its sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight and flight, which is fine if you're running away from a tiger or you're being chased, but it's no good if you're looking to restore, rejuvenate, digest, sleep, etc. Okay, so and this happens so often today. People are constantly stressed from lots of different things. Could be worrying about job, finances, could be worrying about their children, love life, and these things never get resolved, or they're constantly moving around the head. It's almost like, the analogy we like to use is like a duck on the water. Everything looks calm on the surface, but underneath the feet are going a million miles a minute. And if that isn't nullified, if that isn't rectified, if we don't get to the root of the issue, then that becomes a problem. So with that, Erin said, what about having to worry about taking the vaccine? What if I told you, Erin, everything's going to be okay? How would you feel? You're worrying about a future that hasn't happened yet. That's anxiety. Looking back at the past is depression. But you never live in the future, you only live in the now. And most of what you worry about never happens. Also, what you put your energy towards, sometimes you can make those things appear. Okay? And so this is why it's really important, because when we get different levels of stress, for example, different organs of the body on different energetic pathways. So the liver, for example, harbors anger. You get a lot of people who are very angry, have a lot of anger issues, get problems with the liver. The gut has resentment and grief, okay? For example, when people aren't living in line with their purpose, or they're doing things that are out of line with their purpose, they get issues with their neck, because the neck is what joins the body to the head, okay? And it's a disconnect, okay? So all these things can lead to the body being out of pain. And when you get something that, if you're, for example, there is a something called a prostitute archetype. So this isn't like prostitution, what we know it as, but it's, for example, living or doing things you don't want to do for a specific period of time, so you can get an outcome that you do later on in life. Maybe working a job that you don't want, so you can get on a course and then you can get a job that you do want. Okay, that's fine. But if you're living in that constant state all the time, it's a very toxic place to be. If you're getting up every day for years and you hate your job, doesn't matter what you eat, doesn't matter how much you exercise, what else you're doing, it's a very, very toxic place to be, and this can lead to because if you're in a constant state of dis-ease, it leads to a dis-ease, dis-ease leads to disease. And so this is why it's really important to look at getting things in line. If you're constantly, for example, the other thing that happens, if you look at Ayurvedic medicine, the first stage of disease is accumulation. So not oftentimes people that have past injuries, they can get inflammation in those areas because the body is constantly inflamed, constantly stressed, constantly inflamed, and then because that's where the weakness is, that's where the chain's got a little kink in it, that's where the inflammation will come. So people will get maybe issues with their knees, shins, elbows, may get inflammation in their neck. It could be anywhere. And so this is why it's really important to calm the mind and to clear it and to get to the root of the problem. End of the day, you have the answers to these issues, but you have to be aware of them first. If you keep on ignoring them, it's like dripping water will eventually eat through stone. If you keep on ignoring them, they're not going to go away, and you'll never be able to get to the root of it. So if there is a relationship problem you've been dealing with, or your questions that you've got unanswered around it, you have to tackle them. It could be about finances or your job, like what's going on, how can you put things in place. It could be anything, direction that you're moving in life. If you're not enjoying it, what can you do instead? It doesn't mean you go make rash decisions. It means you just confront them. Maybe you do things like you write these things down, you get them out of your head. Your head's constantly going, you can only keep so much information in there. It leads to overwhelm, anxiety, oh my God, I don't know what's happening, stress. Rather than going, okay, these are the facts, I'm going to write this down. What can I do? Journaling it out has been shown to relieve so much stress and anxiety. This is why pills never get to the root cause of the problem. If people have stress, they take pills, doesn't get to the root cause. The stress is still there. Now you're just nullifying it with a medication, but it's just symptomology rather than getting to it. So things that can calm the system down. We talked about journaling. There's walks in nature, breath work, cold showers, listening to music that you like, films that you enjoy, conversations with people, but also talking about these things and being very honest with yourself. Okay. In our programs, for example, we have specific questions. The first thing that we do is actually work on the mind, because without the mind being healthy, the body can't follow. And we have other questions as we go along that release mental and emotional trauma, which is really, really important. And if you, as I said before, doesn't matter what you're eating, what else you're doing, if you don't tackle these things, the body's going to be in a constant state of stress, and that's not where you want it to be. 75 people are today. Research has shown that people are in their sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system. They're fight and flight 75% of the time. We should be in it about 5-10% of the time at most. This means people are chronically stressed, and it leads to all other issues. Okay. What's that? Your life. So I'm just trying to. But people. This is the thing. You cannot influence the outside world, but you can influence your inside world. Okay. It's stressful. Stressful. You get two people, same circumstances. One person's extremely stressed and worried and anxious about things. The other person is not. Just takes it with a pinch of salt and just takes it in their stride. Be like water, adapt to the environment, okay, and know what's true. If you haven't looked into the work of Byron Katie on this, is that true, okay? And what if the opposite is true? And there's people worrying about the vaccine. There's so many people. You see that clip the other day where the woman in Melbourne, I think it was Melbourne or Victoria, mentioned it at a tennis tournament, and the whole crowd booed. The industry, the mainstream won't show you how many people are against this because it doesn't fit their agenda. There's millions of people with you on this, okay, that don't want this, or it's not even a vaccine, it's not even a vaccine, it's gene therapy. So there's millions of people with it, but they won't show you this. That's why they've censored so many people, because they only want to keep the narrative towards what they're doing. That's what they do. So you keep very, very positive. We win this. The light always beats the dark, okay? And there's another clip yesterday about the guy walking through saying you don't get to get tested, or we get fined you a ticket. So, okay, give me a ticket. How many of them have actually gone to court and been prosecuted? 0, because it goes against your civil rights and your human rights. They can't do these things, okay? And there's other ways that would be there to get around it. Wherever there's been people trying to control people throughout history, there's always been others that have been ways to get around it, okay? But even without that, if it could be other things that are going on. maybe around your finances. This is one of the things my mentors, Peter Crone, talks about all the time. Lots of times they say every cloud has a silver lining. The job that you may have lost, or the relationship that may have ended, where you felt really stressed about, even though you didn't really love it, but it caused you some stress, 6 months later, because you're open, because you weren't in that relationship, or you weren't in that job, you then found someone that you absolutely loved and adored, or you then found a job that you really did like. The universe has your back when you work in those when you go for what you want and when you really live in your purpose. The universe has your back. It's amazing what can come up. It's amazing how people will find something that gets them out of a perceived hole. But this is why it's really important to clear the mind and to get to it. Because anyway, the gist of this is, if you keep on ignoring the root cause of your stress, doesn't matter what else you do, you're gonna keep on having issues. And what starts off as a little chronic issue, okay, maybe tired, bit of inflammation, then what turns off being a bit tired, then turns into a chronic issue, then it will turn into a disease, okay, a dis-ease, and then the next stage you don't want to know, okay, what starts off as an ISIS turns into an OSIS, okay, which you don't want. So this is why it's really important to remember you are a holistic entity, and it doesn't matter what you're eating, it doesn't matter how much exercise you do, if you're not wearing chemicals on your skin, if you're turning off your Wi-Fi at night, if you're in a constant state of stress, your body is going to feel that, and it summates it, okay, it summates stress. It doesn't know the difference between, running away from a lion or having financial problems. It just knows stress. And so this is really important. So this is why we go through little tips I mentioned before: journaling, listening to uplifting music, watching a film you like, speaking to someone that brings you joy, getting out, time amongst nature, clearing your head, getting away from the electric magnetic frequencies. Okay, all these things greatly help. Other things that can relax you, things like lavender oil, can bring you down, and also staying in the now. Staying in the now is very, very important. I mentioned before, depression's looking back at the past, okay, which you never live in, it's gone, can't affect you. Anxiety is worrying about a future that hasn't happened yet. Once again, you don't live there either. All you do is live in the now, okay? And as I said before, guys like Peter Crone, Byron Katie, look into their work. It's very, very powerful around this. Once you start to understand this, it's huge. And it's only because the brain always looks for safety. It tries to stop you from doing things that have caused hurt in the past. But the past has no relevance on the future or on the now, only if we let it. And that's why programming is very important as well. The subconscious mind. One of my main men, Jason Christoph, talks about this all the time. It's very, very important. It's what we have it in there. It's why you need to change. Unless you change how you see yourself and change how you identify with yourself, you'll keep on perpetuating the same results, okay? If you see yourself as someone who doesn't get stressed, who takes everything in their stride, who eats healthy, but also that takes care of themselves mentally and emotionally, that's who you'll be. Okay, step into that character. It's going to make a huge difference, okay, to your life. Hopefully this all makes sense, people. And then if you have got issues, we mentioned before, with like your neck, gut, shoulders, liver, etc., not only is it due to toxic residues, but it's to do with stress around certain issues, because they're all in those energetic pathways, okay? I hope this helps people. I hope it gets to the root of what's been, if anything's been causing you stress, and what you can do. As always, if you have been, dealing with issues and you haven't been able to overcome them, and you want a clear, concise way to get out of them, get rid of the misinformation and all the overwhelm, and give me an inbox on here or an email at ryan@reviveyourself.co. On my website you've got my book, The Chronic Fatigue Solution, which goes into all this. It's a very good entry for you to go and read about what causes health issues and how you can get over them. And if you actually do want someone to guide you through this and have a very simple path, easy way to move through it without the overwhelm, I said before, all the information there's so much information these days, cut through all the noise, send me a message on here or at ryan@reviveyourself.co, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, guys and girls, that's it for today. As always, have a lovely evening if you're in the UK, or if you're in the US or Canada or around the world, have a lovely day. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.